Welcome everybody, I'm Santiago Nieland and this is The Divine Within, the invisible connection with God. In today's conversation, we're going to be talking a very interesting topic. Today's topic is called AA, God for Your Own Understanding. And it's a little bit of play on words there because it is a God of your understanding, but we're going to be talking about AA. So, like I said, today's conversation is different. It's personal. And for some of you, it may even hit very close to home. My guest is Darrel Johnston, joining us from Sedona, Arizona. Darrel has been around Alcoholics Anonymous since he was 10 years old. And for 45 years, he's also been a student of the Rancho book. But here's what makes this story so fascinating. Darrel believes that the 12 steps are much more than a recovery program. At their core, they are a practical way of developing a relationship with God within you, a God you are free to understand for yourself. So tonight we're going to follow the same journey AA uses to tell its stories. What was it like, what happened, and what is it like now? And somewhere along that journey, we're going to explore a powerful possibility that recovery, spirituality, surrender, unity, and service may all be pointing toward the same thing, the divine within. So welcome, Darrel. It's a pleasure having you here. It's an interesting topic, and I'm so pleased to have met you and to have talked to you about this subject and have you here with us today.
Thanks, Santiago. Very, very honored to be here. And if this were a 12-step AA meeting, I would introduce myself as saying, "Hi, I'm Darrel, and I am an alcoholic." And the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous is based on anonymity, the anonymous part. In recovery from alcoholism or drug addiction, many people come in with their life in wreckage and ruin from their drug and alcohol usage. And in recovery, many of these people are professionals with reputations that they do not want people to know that they are alcoholic, even in recovery. So it was adopted very early on in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous to maintain anonymity.
Every recovery story has a beginning, and Darrel begins as a little boy in Montana, watching his mother disappear into alcoholism. The drinking wasn't what frightened him most. It was the blackouts, the moments when the person he loved seemed to become someone else. Then in 1962, everything changed when his mother found AA. This is where we begin, with what it was like, what she discovered, and how one woman's recovery would echo through 3 generations. So tell us a little bit about your story, because it's really fascinating, everything that you're telling us about and all the structure and how that moves you. But how was your story? And, especially what I know from you, going from your whole family history. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Yeah, as you mentioned, my mom found AA in 1962. She was 40 and I was 10 years old, and she immediately uh, became happy. I mean, that's about the best way that I could describe it as a 10-year-old kid. She just got happy, and the relief in her life from the fear, as you mentioned, she was terrorized and terrified of the blackouts, the idea that she could drink and then have missing time, and wake up the next day and not remember what had happened. That just absolutely terrified her. And that is something that happens frequently with people who are alcoholic. They have these blackouts. There's also a noted personality change that you've probably seen if you've witnessed alcoholics. It's like somebody throws a switch and the person is a different human.
Yeah.
And normally this is happening with the blackout. That person will generally wake up the next day, or come to, as we say, not wake up, come to, after passing out, and not
Yeah.
remember anything that they have done. And this is one of the most horrifying aspects of the disease of alcoholism, is the fact that I can go out as an alcoholic, get completely blackout drunk, wasted, do horrible things, and not even remember the next day. So, you have to ask yourself, how in the world can we expect to recover when we don't even we're denied the guilt, we're denied the ability of seeing just how badly we
Yeah.
acted. And that's one of the
Yeah.
interesting things about the disease that makes it very difficult to cure. My mom was a wonderful woman. She continued in Alcoholics Anonymous for 55 years. She died at the age of 95 with 55 years sober, and in that time was lived a life that was absolutely marvelous, being of service. She had dozens and dozens of young women that she sponsored, that were her, she called them her babies.
Okay, that's good.
And I was raised, my house as a youngster, as a teenager, was always full of these beautiful, clean, and sober young women that were always looking perfect, made up, clean, sober, friendly, alert, bright, and they were my mom's sponsees. In Alcoholics Anonymous, you are urged to adopt and to seek out a sponsor when you get there. And that person, you can pick whoever you'd like. Normally, that there's normally it works out that God kind of has a hand in that, because if you pick
Okay.
somebody, you'll generally discover that this was the right person, even if you didn't think
Right.
so. And
Okay.
in my case, my sponsor I've already talked to this morning after 8.5, almost 9 years. I still check in with him every morning. His name
Good,
is
good.
Ernie. His name is Ernie. And when I first picked Ernie, I picked him because I liked his shares, and I was self-will, a newcomer to the program, and I picked him because I thought he was wimpy, and that if it came down to push comes to shove, I could overpower him. That was my thinking.
Good.
That's my
Yeah,
thinking, and it turns out that he is military and as tough as nails.
I
And
bet you. I bet you.
I didn't expect that, but that's exactly what I ended up needing. And I now sponsor one person here in Sedona. I've had 3 or 4 sponsors at certain times, but right now I just have one young guy. His name is Clay, and he has just celebrated 9 months clean and sober. And it's kind of the same thing. When he asked me to be his sponsor, I was very reluctant because he's just seems very wild, and as it turns out, he's just like I was. And so that's been a really wonderful experience. And in the
So,
program that,
but real
yes,
quick before we go into the program, Darrell, because I mean you're telling us a story about your mom, and you lived seeing
yes.
this. I mean you grew up with this, and all the babies, like you said, that your mom sponsored. So, how did you end up being an alcoholic after seeing all this, or what is your take on how someone becomes an alcoholic? Can you tell us a little bit of
Well,
your experience?
yes, that is a very good question. Of course, when my mom got sober, my father was a beer distributor in the state of Montana. He was a Budweiser and Great Falls Select, which was a local Montana brand of beer distributor. At our house, we had a giant warehouse outside, a joining building, and several big trucks and vans. And it was my father's company's business to get beer, bring truckloads of beer from either Milwaukee or Southern California, where the Budweiser brewery was, and then distribute it throughout the county to all the bars, restaurants, supermarkets, and any other place that sold beer. And that was my dad's business. So I had seen, because before I even started school, I would go with him and the truck drivers and on their beer runs. So
Okay.
I can say that before I was 6 years old, I was in every single bar in the
Okay.
county.
So that
And
wasn't good.
well, that was good. It was good. As a
Okay.
little child, I saw the sorrow. I didn't come
Okay.
to look at bars and drinking as something that was uh, particularly fun, but I also knew what it meant to be an adult. So, at any rate, to just sum it all up, when my mom got sober at 10 years old, she shared all of the information about her recovery in AA with me. She was basically a school teacher, and she was very vocal and very good. So I knew all about what she was going through. And of course, I decided at 10 years old that hell yes, I'm going to be alcoholic. Absolutely. I'm not going to miss the fun, but I'm just not going to screw it up the way my mom did.
Got it. You thought
That's
you could get away with it.
Yeah,
right?
I knew I was going to get away with it. I was smart.
Okay.
I knew and now I'm educated. I know all the traps. I know all of the nuance of alcoholism, and I'm simply going to avoid it. Okay. And that was, I set out to do that. And I maintained that attitude for my entire life. I am ashamed to say. I can sum up my alcoholism in two sentences. And I like to do that because, yeah. Well, let me back it up and say something. In the days that I was a teenager, following this was the 1960s, and the Beatles were going to India and getting gurus and taking LSD, and the entire culture switched to this drug culture. And
Okay.
so for me, exploring it as a teenager, the music that I loved, all of the bands were psychedelic,
Yeah.
LSD and smoking pot and doing this stuff. It was basically better, quote, better living through chemistry. And
Okay.
that's what I grew up with. So I honestly, my whole idea in life, my whole approach to life was that I am going to use drugs for spiritual purposes. I never really wanted to escape or just get
Got it.
high or just, I was searching. I was a spiritual searcher. And my mom, with her recovery, became a very spiritual person.
Okay.
And she did. And I love that. I was all in for the search for a higher power. I was looking for God. And so that was how it worked.
You kind
Now,
of,
my
real quick, just to recap. So you kind of were looking, you always had this urge. You never, wanted to have that, just for party. And like you said, you had already seen the sorrow that, bars have and everything. So
yes.
you were just looking for something maybe in the wrong place, through the wrong process, and not knowing, being such at a young age, naive, to believe that you could do, or you could be smarter than alcohol, right?
Well, that's exactly right. Our creator, when we are born, gives us this beautiful gift of free will. And
Yeah.
and that means we are going to we're given permission to go our own way. And that's exactly what I was doing. I went for my entire life believing in my heart with all of my soul that drugs and alcohol were the better way. And I didn't want to be totally drunk. I wanted to be buzzed. I always felt like there was this certain chemical imbalance that was not quite correct, and that somehow using a correct amount of alcohol or all of the other wonderful available medications would somehow allow me to adjust it
Okay.
to the correct level. That's what I sought. Now, my second sentence in that is I was wrong. I was wrong.
Correct.
And that's what I appreciate and enjoy now. But it took me my entire life to go through that process and to find the beautiful life that I have now, which doesn't is in recovery. It's being totally sober.
Exactly. So,
Yes.
and this is interesting. I mean, so you're telling us, and you got to this point, and I mean, there's a lot of life. I think that, like you're saying, you had to go through this process. But what would be the takeaway? For, like we were saying, of this this segment, which is what it was like. So what it was like before your recovery and living in that life, and I assume it was a progressive downfall, and then suddenly you got to a point where you realized, and
Yes.
that turned you back, right? Or I don't know.
That's exactly correct. Every person who runs into trouble with drugs and alcohol finds that it's just like the Urantia calls it spiritual gravity. And
Okay.
in terms of the Urantia concept, that is the commandment that God the Father gave to all of His creatures, which is be perfect, even as I am perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is gravity. And the creatures, all of us creatures fall into that gravity no matter what. And the same thing is true with my drug and alcohol career. And everyone who I've known that comes into recovery, drugs and alcohol will work in the beginning for us, and then they stop working, and then they, I mean, when I first got drunk, oh, I felt high and comfortable and warm, and this glow, and this wonderful feeling of being confident. I could talk to anybody and laugh, and that feeling if you've
Yeah,
ever
yeah, yeah.
gotten drunk. Well, that hypnotizes and seduces us. It seduces our soul. And as young people, most of the friends of mine who are in recovery will tell you that that is what we chase. And it doesn't work for very long, but we keep thinking it's going to work, and
Okay.
it fails to work. And that's the spiritual gravity. We in AA terms, we say that alcoholism is a progressive disease, and that once this process starts of things starting to get worse, it continues, and it
Yeah.
never ever changes. But we
Unless
are,
unless you change it, right? This is the
well,
take of all this,
we
right?
don't. We don't. That's the
Okay.
insanity of the whole thing, is that no, we keep reaching in desperation for what worked for
Yeah.
us once. What happens is that uh, in alcoholism you know, we will fail to notice that it's not working for us anymore, and that is the process that leads to ultimately to total uh, moral uh, uh, failure in life. We call it hitting bottom.
What was your rock bottom? So in this process, before we get into what is it to be in the recovery, so what was
Okay.
your rock bottom?
Well, my rock bottom went, I had a long life, and this idea that I was going to enjoy better life through chemistry and be able to manage and control my drinking, I kept with that for my entire life. I had a period of 10 years when I was 30 years old to 40, where I got sober and didn't drink or use drugs. But then I went out again into it. So I should have had, a whole lifespan of sobriety in the program, but I was defiant. I still had this idea that I'm going to do it different. I'm going to do it my own way, Mom. I'm not, and it was
Yeah.
basically a dance that I had with her. And ultimately, um, I went through my entire life, and at 65, my mom passed away, and she was 95 with
Okay.
55 years. And by that time, my life was in ruin and wreckage. I had lost my company. I'd fought with my business partners for years. My business partner was also my drinking and drugging buddy from high school, and he ended up cheating me out of stocks in my own company and stuff. And it was just this typical drunken, drug addicted nightmare that my life had become. My mom passed away, and suddenly at that point, I was drinking every day. I was drinking Scotch whiskey every day, and I was just very unhappy and miserable, and had retired, and was just going nowhere. She passed away in July 17th of 2017, and about 1 week later, I was asleep at night, and at 3:33 in the morning, I was awoken from my sleep by a tall, dark spirit standing
Okay.
next to my bed, saying, "Get up!" What? Get up! And I woke up and didn't think anything of the fact that there was this tall spirit standing next to my bed.
Yeah,
And
and I
I looked
imagine.
I didn't know that's that's no big deal. So I got up, looked around the house, and came back to bed. And I got into bed, and I thought, oh my God, this is the spirit of death has come for me. I'm having a heart attack or something, and I'm gone. And I just hugged myself, and I said, okay, God, if this is it, I'm ready to go. Thank you very much for this marvelous body that you have given me. It has been flawless for 65 years. I don't think I've hurt anyone. I'm ready to go. And I fell back to sleep weeping, and woke up the next day and didn't think anything of it. And about a week later, as came back to me. And remember, I was under the influence. I was drinking all day. But about a week later, I figured out, hey, wait a minute, man, that was the spirit of my mom, because of the way that she said, "Get up." When I was a little
Okay.
kid, she would come in, open the door to my room to wake me up, and she'd say, "Honey, it's time to get up." And it was that same "get up."
Okay. Got it.
So that was it. And I just, all of a sudden I realized, mom's gone. I don't have any reason now to be out of the program. I never wanted to be in her AA. I didn't ever wanted to be known as Nikki's little kid. I wanted my own. And so now that's it. So if that was all it took, Sonny, I was in.
That was so
I
you. It
that's
was
all
your
I
mom
needed.
that got you into the program. So this is a good stopping point, or a good segue actually into what
Okay.
actually happened. So if you want to know what really happened after Darrel's mom visit, stick around and we'll find out. On the Divine Within podcast, we share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.